Okay, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there? This is Shabazz with the proper perspective. We're getting it started this afternoon on MLK Day. Hope y'all are doing okay. Hope y'all did something to honor, commemorate, or celebrate the day, MLK Day. If you did something interesting, if you did something enjoyable, let me know in the comments. Say something in the live feed if you happen to find this while we're still live. I'll tell you what I didn't do too much. I usually try to take it easy. But I do, well, it's quite interesting that today also happens to fall on the Orange Man's inauguration. I definitely wanted to make sure I did not partake in any of those so-called celebrations and antics. So I got a question for you, do but in the chat room, and I'll pin it to the station. I'll pin it to the comments. Do you think the artists, the rap artists, the hip hop artists, the icons as they are known to be, do you think they're sellouts for participating in the Trump extravaganzas? How do you feel about Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross, Nelly, and Soldier Boy? Were you fans of them in the first place? I know there are some, there's definitely some generational gap type situations going on. So some people may say, well, I ain't never listened to blank, depending on whatever generation you fall in. If you're older, then you might say, I never listened to Soldier Boy. If you're younger, you might say, I listen to Soldier Boy, but I ain't never listened. I ain't want nobody trying to listen to Rick Ross or whatever it may be. You think those artists are sellouts for joining in and participating? So that's one of the questions I would like for you guys to help me answer today. I usually try to keep a level head. I usually try to come across with an even keeled conclusion and analysis of certain situations when I do speak on topics. I may find it. I may find it a little bit challenging with this one. Um, it is a little difficult for me to sit back and say I support Snoop Dogg. Well, I don't see no problem with Rick Ross. Um, I do normally try to support Snoop, although Snoop has made comments in the past that I felt were like unhelpful in the general scheme of things. But then I would always just fall back and be like, you know, I'm gonna let you slide with that because everybody got their own opinion. I furtively disagree. But it's like one after another. Eventually, a bridge is gonna get burned. Eventually, I don't know that I'm gonna continue supporting Snoop. It's not that it's, and I'm not joking. I'm not kidding myself. It's not like it's gonna matter me, one little old person. Not if I say I'm not gonna buy his music, he ain't gonna lose his wealth. He certainly ain't gonna lose it now that he done crossed the picket line, so to speak, and jumped on over there to party up with the orange one. But I do get I fully understand support all the black people that is calling him out, that are calling him out for his shenanigans. I lost a lot of respect for him when he started down talking the people that make slave movies. And he got him saying, I'm tired of seeing slave movies. And I'm like, how much do you even know of about the history of the plantation era? He never came across as somebody that knew a lot. I could be wrong, but I don't really think I am. I don't really think Snoop knew that much about it in the first place. So to down talk that type of thing, I had an issue with that. And then I fell back, still tried to support him. He was, at least from the outside looking in, he always seemed like a person that was kind of like in favor of some of the more important people in hip hop. He used to come across as somebody that was like, Ace Boone Coon, A alike, B alike, some other type of positive adjective. if you talk about him and Tupac. But as of recently, I have come across quite a few videos where people are doing a lot more spilling of the beans, and I'm like, oh, Snoop wasn't all that he wasn't all that honest when he was saying he was in Pac's corner. Strike two. I'm very much a Pac fan. I'm very much if I had to choose, I don't necessarily like to choose, but if I had to choose Pac versus Biggie in those constant in those debates, I'm gonna choose Pac. So yeah, I might get a little touched when we get people that don't necessarily jump on the Pac train. No disrespect whatsoever to Biggie. I like both artists, but I am a Pac fan first and foremost. So, like I said, Strike One was talking down about movies that portray, some of the struggles and some of the horrors that our ancestors went through. That was Strike One. Strike Two was not being that much of a Pac fan as I thought he was. Now, it blew up over the weekend. And so I'm like, okay, we really coming up around the corner on strike three with him, supporting Trump. And it's so very interesting. Like, I'm sure all y'all seen the video where, during the first Orange Brigade, he hopped on social media and was like, if anybody trying to celebrate with him, then you just a straight up jigaboo. And I'm gonna roast you and I'm gonna clown you and I'm gonna talk about you. And I'm like, for that alone, even if you weren't into the whole political spectrum of things, you know, nobody likes a hypocrite. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on. Nobody likes a hypocrite. You could be an atheist, you could be a Christian, you could be a Muslim, you could be an African spiritual practitioner. Nobody likes a hypocrite. So to see him, to hear him go hard against celebrating with Trump, and to see and to recognize that, yeah, that's what the majority of black people feel. They felt it during the first regime, and they feel it now that we are in the cusps or in the throes of the very beginning of the second regime. You know, what was it? 80% in the most optimistic conservative estimations. 80% of Black America voted for the other guy. Or I'll say it differently. If you want to fact check me, 80% of Black America did not vote for this guy. Because, yeah, you can come back and be like, well, technically it wasn't 80%. You can splice that up however you want. Because, yes, there is a percentage point that voted for a third party there and so on and so forth. So 80% did not vote for this guy. The orange toupee weighing, grab him by the, was not voted for, was not supported by us. We took an active stance. So for him to step on those toes, and yeah, I heard the story. People saying, no, 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 no. You got to understand. He support Trump because Trump let his homeboy out. Harry O got freed, got pardoned. Okay, look. If you in this thing for the struggle, if you in this thing for the cause, one person does not. When does one person get the benefit of the doubt over the group? That's part and parcel of us being in this predicament that we find ourselves in. You're not allowed to. You will be frowned upon. You will be looked at with a side eye if you put your own personal benefits and gains above the masses. Now, nobody's saying, like, you can be a Trump supporter. How dare I say that? You can be a Trump supporter and you can be happy that Trump let your homeboy out. But letting your homeboy out don't mean the rest of us should take a back seat. First and foremost, don't get it twisted. Yes, there are some people that Trump let out. But one of the things that always kills me is, we're always given a choice. You can vote for the Democrat who's trying to let 5,000 people who shouldn't be in jail out of jail. No, we don't want to do that because the Democrat wrote up the legislation in the first place. We're going to vote for the guy that also voted for the legislation in the second place. He just didn't write it. And when he decides to let out 1,500 people that shouldn't have been in jail in the first place, we're going to celebrate. Like, can we not do math? You will almost never catch me putting on for Biden. I didn't like him. I didn't vote for him. In part because he was instrumental in the crime bill. But learn your history. Most of Black America was in support of that crime bill. The leaders and influencers of Black America back then were asking for that crime bill. Now, they weren't 100% in favor of everything that was in it, but they were going to bet. They were the ones that said, we got to do something. And see, that's one of the problems. We always find ourselves behind the 8 ball with our back against the wall. And what we say is, something got to be done. It is that short-sighted thinking that promotes and promulgates all of the stuff that we do. Out of this idea that something got to be done, we just jump for whatever walks by. So yeah, back in the early 90s, something had to be done. And they wrote that crime bill. And it's like a brand new shiny quarter. It looked like something was getting done. And it wasn't until scholars of today took a look back at that crime bill and its impact and said, you know something, we were duped. This is not what should have took place. So yeah, that's one reason why I didn't vote for Biden. But in this back against the wall, stuck behind the 8 wall mentality, something got to be done. We jump off the porch chasing the shiniest thing. And right now it's Trump. At least 20% of us, which is good. It's thank God that only 20% of us voted for that maniac. But this short-sighted thinking, something's got to be done, is what's promulgating the 20% who do support him. We got to do something different. Who says you got to do stupidity just to be different? Who says you have to vote against your own interests just to be different? The goal is not just to be different. It's to be right. It's to be correct. So you can celebrate your homeboy came home, but if you weren't chasing the ambulance, 5,000 people would have came home, not 1,500. That's part of my point. And if you don't believe me, look it up. Look it up. I wouldn't make it up. I'm not fantasizing. because there was more than one bill on the table. And what I would say is the Democrats have a horrible marketing team. The Republicans have an excellent marketing team, because that is the only difference in what we know and what we think we know. We think we know that Trump championed bringing home black people, and they love to say black men and fathers were allowed to come home off the Second Chance Act. Yes, they were. But you can't even name the legislation that would have brought home 2, 3, 4, or 5 times the number of black men and fathers that came down the pike from Democrats. All you can do is name the smallest amount. Why are you so happy about the smallest victory? If you go back and do the research and look at the history, even the civil rights legislation, when it was initially set up and proposed, so let's say there were 20 benchmarks, 20 bullet points, 20 referendums, 20 demands, and you jump up and down about the 5 that they awarded you. And then what makes it even worse, you yourselves don't even teach the history within your own community or communities. I digress. I'm supposed to be talking about the artist. So Snoop Dogg. So I'm supposed to support Snoop Dogg. I'm supposed to forget. I'm supposed to ignore the fact that he chose his own personal gain over the community. That's fine. We live in a capitalistic world. We live in a capitalistic society, and everybody says, go for your own. You get yours, and let the next man worry about his. Okay. That's what it's supposed to be. So in that regard, okay, yeah, Snoop did what he was supposed to do. Now, just like Snoop ain't got to support us in our cause, in our struggles, in our endeavors, we don't have to support him. I'm not saying cancel him. I'm not saying don't cancel him. I'm saying you let these artists show you who they are. And what did Maya Angelou say? When they show you who they are, believe them. So Snoop Dogg goes from calling everybody a jigaboo if they support Trump to becoming a jigaboo. Hypocritical. Hey, bye-bye, hypocrite. Now, Rick Ross, again, Rick Ross has that turbulent reputation. You know, half of hip hop call him the police, and the other half say he the boss. So he always been stuck in the middle. Well, let him continue being stuck in the middle. There's been some things that Rick Ross stood up for, and I was like, respect, big ups. He stood up against a couple of white artists that were running around talking down on black people and using the N-word. He approached them on stage or backstage and was like, look, you need we ain't gonna have that. I'm like, okay, I respect that. But I don't respect partying with Trump. So that's okay. If he was a cop, he was a cop, strike one. Now he balling with Trump, strike two. Now, I don't know what to say about Soulja Boy. I'm too old. I'm too old to be a fan of Soldier Boy. I was never really. I caught on to Soldier Boy after he had already blown up. I was never a fan, and I don't mean, that's not down talk. That's just his music, his genre. That's all beyond me. I respect anybody that can get into the music game and make a name for themselves, a lane for themselves, and make some change for themselves. So I don't have no problem with that. Um, I just wasn't a person that would listen to that kind of music. But I've never been a person to listen to that kind of music. I came up with the old school artists, and even back then, I didn't listen to party music. I was always I listened to the conscious artists. I always listened to the conscious artists. It took a lot for me to listen to like a quote unquote unconscious artist. If you want dropping jewels for the mind, I'm like, I don't got time. So, you know, I don't have as much smoke for Soldier Boy because I was halfway out the door of even being a listener by the time he came along. But like I said, politically speaking, now Nelly, okay. Now I feel like I know a little bit more about Nelly than I do Soldier Boy. And no, Nelly won't no conscious artist. Hell, for all that matter, neither was Rick and neither is Snoop. But it's hard not to know of those artists when you are in the thick of things and you do listen to music. So I was presented with Nelly, and being somebody that live in the South and grew up in the South, you know, yeah, they came along during my growing up years. So I was well aware of Nelly. I was well aware of Rick Ross and Snoop Dogg. Actually had a little bit more respect for Nelly because I tell you what I liked about Nelly was when he came out with a different style, a different approach. You know, it wasn't conscious music, but it was a different approach. It wasn't the hardcore. It was like a little playful, but a little, I'm not gonna say cheesy because that's not really the right word, but it was fun music. Hey, some people may say Soldier Boy music was fun too. Again, it was just beyond my it was on the outside of my bandwidth. But Nelly was like kind of like fun music, and he had dope tracks. So yeah, I was rocking with him a little bit. Anytime I needed a break from the conscious, or anytime I couldn't find a conscious artist, because I mean, it's not like we had a full platform of conscious artists always constantly coming out. So when you have your lulls, that's when you might start digging a little bit more and listening to whatever. Whatever the case may be, I was a bit of a fan of Nelly. Okay, like I said, politically speaking, you rocking with Trump, I got problems with you. So yeah, that's an issue. Might see if I can adjust this a little bit. I don't know if that's any better, but yeah, that's an issue. That's definitely an issue. So I call them the Coon Squad. I don't know if I should be calling them the Coon Squad, but at least that's what I'm calling them right now. As far as I'm concerned, like, no, you down with Master Trump, you a sellout boy. Sellout boys. So yeah, I do got issues with artists. It's to a point now where you really got to take a look at this whole idea. Yes, racism is a huge problem, but classism is also a huge problem. And the entertainment industry itself is a huge problem. And we as a group, I certainly stepped away from the idea of looking at entertainers as anything other than entertainers. They cannot be your leaders, they cannot be your heroes. You can look up to them. especially if you can look up to anybody that's doing something that you want to do. You know, if you're into basketball, of course, you're going to look up to the greats in basketball. If you want to be a musician, of course, you would look up to people like this because they're doing what you want to do. But it stops. The buck stops here. You cannot look at those same people. You can hope. You can expect. No, you can't expect. You can hope that they may share your political perspectives, your political lens. But then, when you think about it, it's like, okay, so, how informed is your own political lens? So if your political ideology is informed with a constant influx of information, you can't necessarily assume that a millionaire who travels the world singing songs of whatever genre, unless it was a conscious genre, might partake in the same type of political news, views, and information as you. So an artist who is a millionaire has entered a class, especially in American society. They've entered a new class. Technically, America doesn't have a royal class. The royals, England has royals. Many African nations have royals. They have kingdoms that still exist today. America never had a royal class, technically, on paper, by right and rule and definition. We never had a royal caste system or a royal class system. But the rich, the uber rich, are royals in this country. And you're not going to have royals viewing the world the same way commoners view the world. It's possible. It's not likely. It's not practical. It's not pragmatic. It just isn't. Yes, you can hope, but what do they say? High aspirations often come with great disappointments, something along those lines. So, you know, if you're an artist and you're still in the mud and you're trying to get it out the mud, you might share the same political views as 80% of Black American voters. But if you've spent the last 10 years, 20 years plus out of the mud, you didn't cleaned up. You didn't got jiggy with it. You gonna look at politics from your own personal view, not from where you come from, but from where you are. It was Rakim that said it ain't about where you from, it's where you at. Well, if you a millionaire and you not really interested in your people, see, that's again, here's the thing. When you have a conscious artist, that artist comes to the platforms, whatever platform that may be. They come to the platform saying, I'm here to create art that represents me and my people and what we go through. Yeah, you right to expect that artist to stay true to the code. But when you don't have a conscious artist, you have an artist that comes to the platform, whatever platform it may be, and they basically saying, I'm here to make money. Got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. I mean, it's all good and it all sound good, but the bottom line is when that's the person, what they gonna do what they do. Like, you can't be mad that a pimp pimped you. He told you he was a pimp. You can't be mad. Like, is the gazelle mad that the lion ate him? Well, okay, he might be, yeah, he is pissed off, but he knew what he was up against. And he was trying to get away. He might be mad that he didn't get away. He gonna try to stay away. So when you have these artists that are not conscious, they don't rap conscious, they don't interview conscious. Like, there's always, you can have an artist that may rap about one thing, but then when they talk in interviews and you get to see a little bit more of their personality, then they come across like they know a little something. Okay, that's different. But when you got an artist that rap about gangster and negative and then when you get them in an interview, they talk about gangster and negative well, what you expect? If a bum hits the lottery, does he become a scholar? No. If a wino hits the lottery, does he become sober? No. If a gangster hits the lottery, does he become a gentleman? No. When was a gangster for you? When was a gangster standing for you? You know, outside of giving the community turkeys during Christmas time, the gangster is there to fleece your pockets and have a ball doing it and hang out with other gangsters that fleece your pockets. That's the royal class that we look up to as a group. So whether it's Snoop, who was just rich enough, bold enough, brave enough, or got no fucks to give enough to let you know. And then Nelly gets on his interview campaign going live or whatever it is with Willie D trying to explain himself and just dug a ditch, dug a hole even deeper for himself, sounding stupid and ignorant. But again, pimps gonna do what pimps do. You know, you never would have saw Chuck D talking about he down for Trump. He came to the platform as a conscious artist. He had a certain knowledge base. He grew his knowledge base as time goes on. Only thing Snoop ever grew was his pockets. The only thing Nelly ever grew was his pockets, and so on and so forth. Rick Ross came in the game broke, and now he's rich. So, and it's really disappointing, like for me, from the perspective of like when you look at it, and I'm not saying this is an actual fact, so don't get me wrong, but when you look at it, there's like this trend, there's this wave of New York got conscious rappers, and the South got dumbasses. Now I know that's not absolutely 100%, so don't get me wrong. New York got some dumbass rappers too. But you know, you got way more conscious rappers coming out that came out the North, that came out New York and Jersey and so forth. And then you just got all these clowns in the South because the South is so much bigger. It's like having a classroom full of clowns. You got the clowns in Florida, the clowns in Texas, the clowns in California, the clowns in Georgia. Yeah, they came to the game and they showed the game, they showed rap artists how to make money, how to make way more money. That's one of the things I always respected the South for, because they really understood the business and the politics of hip hop, and they made their money they made way more money than old school or New York or North style sounding rappers, etc., whatever, however you want to name that. So I always respected them for that. But then when it comes to politics, it's like, oh, y'all niggas on some clown shit. I'm glad you made your money, but you repping for the Klan? I'm like, nah, I ain't got no time for you. So again, I'm just like, you know, this whole thing, um, I call them the Coon Squad, Massa Trump and the Sellout Boys. I don't really have a lot of patience for them. If you do, that's you, that's fine. I don't, I'm not gonna say cancel them, but I'm not gonna support them. And I just like somebody said, I think Nelly is gearing up or preparing or getting ready to have one of those Vegas residencies, the same way 50 Cent did. I'm like, if I was so inclined, if I was thinking about going to Vegas, I'm really not. But under certain circumstances, I like I can see myself going to Vegas. Um, for one, with the East Coast, well, with the country being in winter, this is February, this is January. We in winter. I hate cold weather. I could see myself saying, "Yo, I'm out. I'll fly to Vegas. I'll stay a month. I'll stay a month or two. I'll go. Let me find a hot spot that I can literally go camp out in for 2 to 3 months, and I'll do it." So Vegas could be on my list. And I'm like, okay, so if I were so inclined to go to Vegas to try and avoid all of this cold weather, and Nelly was, now I find out Nelly is having his residency there and he's going to be performing every night at such and such or whatever. I'm like, do I want to support Nelly after he done showed me that he support the orange one? um, who else is here? Is anybody else I can see? I'm like, I really don't think I would be going to that show. If I found out Snoop or Rick was coming to town in Virginia now, yeah, hypocrite was the case that they gave me. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need it. But that's me. Like I said, that's just me. I don't support Trump, and I don't support anybody that support him. Um, that's all there is to it. So yeah, I don't like them people. I don't like the artists that support them. I don't like the voters that support them. I'm not in favor of them. I don't I I don't put nothing past no sellout. If you selling out that easily, especially when you don't have to. Back in the day, Michelle A tried the same mess. And the community, they showed her what we thought about her. You know, all her projects went to the trash can. Her whole career got tanked. That should go to show you. No, there are certain things, yeah, there's a little bit of leeway with some things, but there's no leeway on other things. You either for us or against us. And that dude is not for us at all. So, you know, I'm not praying on nobody downfall, but I wouldn't lose no sleep if their careers or their projected revenue stream, whatever it may be, took the same kind of nosedive as Michelle A's. Matter of fact, to some extent, that's what it needs to do. If we were standing on business when Michelle A crossed the line, we need to be standing on business when Snoop, Rick Ross, Soulja Boy, and Nelly crossed the line, and any other artists that crossed that line. But that's like I said, that's that hip hop thing. That's my take. That's my proper perspective on that hip hop piece. Now, on this whole reparations thing, again, my idea is, oh no, I don't even really mean to. I'm saying it wrong. On this whole, the fact that today is MLK Day. And they call it, it's one of the only, if not the only day where the holiday is considered a day of service. So who did you do your service to? Who did you commit service to? I committed service to myself. Now I know that might be wrong, that might be very selfish, but to some extent I don't even care. But also, if you not right, you can't help nobody else. So I with the cold weather being what it is, with seasonal affective disorder being what it is, I tried to go out, it's not happening. So I'm like, no, it's just not happening. Now, I do want to play something for you when it comes to MLK Day. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see if I can share screen. Oh, nope, that's not right. Share screen. And that's not right either, but let me see. I got it here somewhere. If I pull up this folder and I go to the right one nice and quick, we almost there. It's funny how you think you have everything in place, and then when it's time to execute, you're like, oh, I didn't do that. Now, some people have heard this clip, and if you have, then I salute you. But I do know that a lot of people have not heard this clip, so I want to do my part. If I was still teaching, when I was teaching in the schools, I would play this in certain classes. If I was working on that day, now I may not have been working on that day, but here we go. Let me see. Let me share the screen. Now, hopefully, you can hear this. If you in the chat, if you in the comment section, let me know that you can hear this. We're coming to get our check. Now, I don't know if you can hear it. I was hoping somebody would tell me, but I don't have that going on right now. So I'm going to assume you can hear it. Stop sharing. Now, if you heard it, one of the things I wanted to point out, yeah, this is MLK Day. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going over it. But right at the very beginning, one of the things I wanted to key up on and speak about was that he said it was an act of Congress. It was an act of Congress that did all of this. Now, why do I want to bring that up? We have so many people talking on social media about reparations. That's not a bad thing. That's an absolutely good thing. That's absolutely great thing. But just like I said, we end up being stuck behind the 8 ball with our back against the wall, and we jump off the porch chasing something we ain't got no business chasing. We chasing the reparations on social media. Now, Dr. King said it was an act of Congress that put these things in place. Well, you can't get to an act of Congress talking on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Lemonade, or any other platform. You don't get reparations because you amassed 1 million followers on a social media platform. And you certainly don't get it when you amass those followers and trick them into pointing fingers at people that look like them and say, hey, you're not like me. You're not like me. You don't get it. There's nothing to get because it is an act of Congress that put reparations in place for every group that has gotten reparations. It was a legitimate, legal battle. It wasn't a social media battle. It wasn't a newspaper battle. You say, well, hey, we didn't even have social media back then. I got you, Playboy. I got you. We had legacy media. We had old school media. We had newspapers and magazines and radio. Well, the Japanese people didn't get reparations because they went on the radio. Jews didn't get reparations because they had magazine articles and newspaper articles. No, they went to court. So that's the thing I want. Like, yeah, every MLK Day and every February Black History Month, whether you feel it's an appropriate time or not, because most people just love to spit out the same old sound bites. Why they gotta give us the shortest month? Have you worked on getting a different month? Or do you just want to bring up the sound bite that you heard 25 years ago? They were complaining, we were complaining as a group about February when it first started. But we ain't put nothing in place to say, let's change it from February to March. Let's change it from March to April. We ain't put nothing in place that said, let's make every fact about Black history that should be studied and taught and learned. Let's make sure it's in all of the textbooks all year. No, rather than put in that work, we want to talk in different spaces about it's just in February. If you're going to honor MLK, if you're going to put yourself into service for MLK Day, then part of the service is waking people up to what is expected, to what is required. Just talking, if you think Black History Month should be in a different month, then you need to work on changing the month, not telling everybody, it's the shortest month. If you think reparations is something that we need, then you need to be working with legislative groups and bodies, not online talkathoners and xenophobic hate mongers. Because Tariq Nasheed is not writing any legislation. Yvette Carnell is not writing any legislation. So if you want reparations, if you want the Black truth to be taught in schools, get offline and go to your school board meeting, go to your city council meeting, go to your local headquarters of the Republicans or the Democrats, whichever one it is that you think is going to get the job done. I'm not going to sit up here and say, well, I know because the Democrats. You want to be a Republican, but go put some legislation in place to make some changes. Don't just get online and say, well, you know, Black people were Republicans back in the 1800s. Shut up. Because back then, the Republicans was putting in legislation that helped us. We've never been the group that blindly voted lock, stock, and barrel for one political party just because. Yes, there are social media influencers who have said we vote like black and for the Democrats every time. But there is a reason behind it. If Republicans were writing legislation that was assisting us, we would vote Republican. But since they're the ones trying to write legislation to put us right back into slavery, why would we continue to vote for them just because we started in the 1800s voting for them? If you have such a juvenile mindset where you can't think 3 seconds into the future, 3 seconds past into the past to analyze something, then you need to go somewhere and sit in a corner and do some meditation until something opens up. There's a blockage. Something needs to be opened up. The Kemetic Society had opening of the way. Maybe you need that. The Hoodoo spiritualists have a opening, path opener. Maybe you need that. You need something to open up so you can get off the stick of just repeating sound bites that are taken completely out of context. So the MLK service for today, the service is waking people up and getting them to think about something above and beyond the soundbite. Because like I said, that whole, the coming to DC to get the check. Yeah, and a lot of people like to play that. Because we deserve the check, we're owed the check. We were supposed to already get the check. But the key is it was an act of Congress. So he wasn't going to go to DC and just ask politely. He wasn't going to go to DC and demand it. He was going to DC with a legislative bill in hand and demand the vote. Because you get it one of two ways. Either Congress votes for it or the president signs it into. Now, you had your chance to vote for a candidate that would have signed it into law back in November. 2 candidates said they were going to sign it into law. But 80% of the people voted for the woman that says she won't going to do it. And 20% of the people voted for the man that said he won't going to do it. So nobody voted to have a president in office that would sign reparations into law. Okay, well then it falls on you to call on your congressmen and your senators. That's the only way. That's your only other option. So In service of MLK, he wanted us to go to DC with legislation in hand and force Congress and force the senators to vote it into law. So until there are, like, I'm talking about it. So, hey, you're just as guilty as the rest of them. I'm talking about it. Yes, I'm talking just like the rest of them. You know what the difference is? I don't have 1 million followers. If I had 1 million followers, I would say I want all my 1 million followers to meet me in DC so we can force these people to vote. I don't have 1 million followers. If I had 1 million followers, that's what I would do. Legislation. Activate. So if you're listening to me, at the very least, go talk to your 1 million follower influencers. Talk to your Tariq Nasheeds. Talk to your Dr. Umar Johnsons. Talk to your Yvette Carnells. Tell them, where is the legislation? You know, none of y'all wanted us to vote for Kamala. None of y'all wanted us to vote for, what's the brother name? And now I'm forgetting his name. Shame on me. Brother Love. No, it wasn't Brother Love. That's Diddy. We ain't trying to talk about him. Anyhow, you said don't vote for him because his party is too small. You said don't vote for her because you don't think she's black. A lot of y'all said vote for Trump. Well, then, if you're gonna be a Snoop Dogg, if you're gonna be a Rick Ross, Soulja Boy, and Nelly, and you're gonna go down there and party with Trump, are you going down there with the legislation and say, listen here, we partying with you, but hold up, sign this? Nah, that's too much like right. If you want party with Trump, then you get Trump to sign the reparations bill. That's how you walk away saying, I did it. I took one for the team and I looked out for you. You don't just go down there and party because your homeboy got to come home while the rest of us continue to suffer. We're not going to celebrate with you. What is there for us to celebrate? So if you're going to honor MLK, whether you're an older generation person or a younger one, that's fine. If you want to honor MLK, then let's go to DC and get that check. But we can't go there without legislation. That's impossible. We can't go there on Instagram. Ain't no legislation being written on Instagram. Ain't no legislation being written on TikTok. What is the organization that's going to write the bill? I dare say to you it's NCOBRA, but all of the social media yazoos then told you don't follow NCOBRA. I wonder why. They telling you not to follow. They telling you not to F with the only organization that's writing legislation, and you don't think they're agents. And they ain't writing no legislation on their own. And you jumping up and down in support of this. Even had a brother get on my last live stream and tell me, I disagree with you. You can disagree all you want to, but you can't show the proof that I'm wrong. You can disagree with me. I don't think we need, what are you disagreeing with? I say we need legislation in order to get reparations. You say, I disagree with you. Okay, because it's just going to fall out the sky. You say you think that you're going to get reparations as soon as you hit the like button the right number of times on Tariq Nasheed's videos. That's what's going to get you reparations. You think you're going to get reparations as soon as you eliminate the right number of black immigrants from the line. Then the reparations checks will start to be distributed. And ain't one bill been passed. Talk about hustling backwards. Every day I'm hustling backwards as a mother. Y'all gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. This is ridiculous. I don't know if y'all can even hear it. Let me see. I'm gonna make sure I get a chance to play it. So one way or the other, if you look at, like, if it didn't play, if you couldn't hear it last time, you gonna hear it this time.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money. The problem.
So I'm going to start it over again. He said, at the same time, it was an act of Congress that gave certain people the benefits that they have. That's not newspapers. That's not books. You might need newspapers to rally the troops. You might need social media to rally the troops, but you gotta write the legislation.
At the same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government with an economic floor. But not only did they give...
So they gave white peasants an economic floor. They gave white peasants an economic floor through an act of Congress. So if you want to be a person that is working to or trying to celebrate, honor MLK, then you need to find some kind of organization, either create it yourself or find some kind of organization that is working to get an act of Congress to sign off on the economic foundation for Black Americans. And do not worry about whether or not some Black Americans who haven't been here as long as you can be in the line. Because you can stand in a line of a store that never opens forever. And you can argue about who should be in the line. But if the store ain't opening, what is the point? So in order to honor MLK, yes, I would say, let's stop talking about the I have a dream speech. Because the dream was to go to DC and get that check to be cashed, to be written and cashed. That was the dream. And they killed him 2 months after he said it. I want 1968. He said, we're going to DC to get that check. 2 months later, pew, pew. So how do we honor MLK? How do we commit service on this day for him? We organize around the legislation writers, the bill writers, not the mouthpieces. I don't have a problem. Yeah, it was Malcolm X who because we're so much into sound bites, it was Malcolm X that said, don't let the entertainers be your leaders. No, let them be your mouthpieces. We need to point fingers at the bill writers. And right now, the people who can most effectively and most efficiently write the bill, they're already in place. They're in DC right now. It's called the Congressional Black Caucus. Yeah, they got a lot of problems. But one of the biggest reasons they have a lot of problems is we don't apply no pressure to them. We spend more time talking about an immigrant here and an immigrant there than talking about the congressional representative for my state here, the congressional representative for my state there. That's where the problem is. But if we apply pressure on them to write the bills, and if we got so-called allies, we get those allies to apply pressure on the white representatives, and you get the bill written, you get the act of Congress passed. Instead of yapping, you ain't as black as me. See, really, for real, I'm an Indian, and you just don't know because you've been lied to. Even if you're going to call yourself a freaking Indian, where is your act of Congress that gives you your reparations or gives you your reservations? How come you didn't get the reservations if you a daggone Indian? How come you didn't get the reservations? Well, guess what? You ain't getting them back without an act of Congress. So if you were Indian, then where is your legislation that's going to restore everything? Whatever BS you wanna blow hard about, go blow it hard with a bill. Until you writing a bill, you blowing smoke. Puff, puff, pass. That's how I want to honor and celebrate. Commemorate is really the best word. I don't necessarily like the word honor. I don't necessarily like the word celebrate, but I will commemorate MLK by asking everyone to jump aboard the bill writing train and forcing Congress to enact whatever it is. If you say it's not reparations, then that's fine. I'll walk off on that one. But whatever the bullet point is, I personally think the Republic of New Africa was a better plan. I personally think Elijah Muhammad's "What Do the Muslims Want" was a better plan. I personally think the Black Panther Party's 10-point program was a better plan. But if we were to all take a vote and 80% of black people voted for something else, okay, I'm fine with it. But more importantly, get to writing. Stop infighting and get to writing. I'm gonna get up out of here. That's my proper perspective. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button. Please feel free to hit the like button. Please feel free to drop a comment and share the stream with somebody. I'll see y'all later. Peace.